This video was brought to you by Patreon. Support my activism and gain early access to all my videos for only $1 a month.
Is the following statement true or false?
False. If it's coming out of your mouth, it's probably false. This is Garrett Lösch, member of the governing body, and this is actually the first time he has appeared in our channel. Welcome, Mr. Lösch. Welcome. If you need to know something about Mr. Lösch, is that he is very good at lying. Back in 2014, Lösch refused to help the courts with a case of sexual abuse that happened back in 1986 in World Headquarters. When he was summoned to court, instead of showing up and helping the courts, Lösch lawyered up and refused to cooperate in the investigation, and the reason he gave was appalling. I quote, "I am not and never have been a corporate officer, director, managing agent, member, or employee of Watchtower. I do not direct and have never directed the day-to-day operations of Watchtower. I do not answer to Watchtower. Watchtower does not have and never has had any authority over me." At the time he wrote this statement, Lösch had been a member of the governing body for 2 decades. This piece of crap lied to the courts, saying he had no influence whatsoever in the operations of Watchtower. He lied. But now he stands before his followers and gives a talk about the truth. This fossil wouldn't know what the truth is, even if it bit him on his wrinkly ass. So today, folks, we are going to absolutely demolish this excuse of a man and the diatribe he's about to deliver. So you know what to do with every ExJW video. Hit that like button and subscribe so we can keep sending your love to the governing body.
Truth is relative. That statement is not relatively but absolutely false. Some think that something is truth for one person but not truth for another person. Many religious organizations claim to have the truth. However, between them, there are many contradicting teachings. Is this just another evidence that all truth is relative? That there's no absolute truth?
No, it's simply evidence that since religion is an entirely man-made phenomenon, it is prone to contradict itself and needs constant revision as the culture surrounding it changes. That includes your religion, Lösch.
No. The truth is that truth is not relative, it is absolute. Those who say truth is relative are not only relatively but absolutely wrong. The Hebrew word for truth, emet, is often rendered truth and may designate what is firm, trustworthy, stable, or faithful. The Greek word for truth, aletheia, originates with a word meaning not concealed. So the truth often involves the revealing of that which was formerly hidden. Jesus said, according to Luke 12, verse 2, "But there is nothing carefully concealed that will not be revealed, and nothing secret that will not become known." There are over 70 places in the gospel accounts where Jesus is said to have used the unique expression to emphasize the truthfulness of his words. He would often say amen to introduce a sentence. The corresponding Hebrew word meant certain, true. Notes the New International Dictionary of New Testament Theology, quote, "By introducing his words with amen, Jesus labeled them as certain and reliable. He stood by them and made them binding on himself and his hearers."
Now, this following section takes a bizarre turn. Lösch starts quoting theology dictionaries produced by Babylon the Great. Why? I don't know. I'm sure the writers of these very expensive dictionaries would disagree on most of Watchtower's theology, so it's very strange he's quoting directly from them.
Does the truth ever change? That question was raised by V.R. Ruggiero in his book, The Art of Thinking. His answer is no. To quote him, "It may sometimes seem to that it changes, but on closer inspection it will be found not to. Yes, the truth never changes. Consider, he says, the case of the authorship of the first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis. For centuries, Christians and Jews alike believed that the book had a single author. In time, this view was challenged and eventually replaced by the belief that as many as 5 authors contributed to Genesis. Then, in 1981, the results of a 5-year linguistic analysis of Genesis were published, stating that there is an 82% probability of single authorship, as originally thought. Has the truth about the authorship of Genesis changed? No, only our belief has changed. End of quote.
Ugh, this old man's still stuck in 1981 and hasn't even bothered to check on the current academic consensus. The Torah, being the first 5 books of the Bible, was not written by Moses. That's the consensus now. As biblical scholars analyze the text, they notice the different writing styles found in the Torah, and that it simply could not have been written by a single author. It's called the documentary hypothesis, and it's backed by most scholars today. At least 4 different sources were compiled together to form the Torah. It makes sense. You can even look it up by yourself. For example, the first 11 chapters of Genesis are very different from the rest of the book. These chapters have a clear Babylonian flavor to them. Adam and Eve, Noah's Ark, the Tower of Babel. These stories have very clear parallels in Babylonian mythology. The rest of Genesis, which focuses on the patriarchs, differs greatly in tone and is based on stories which are probably older than the first 11 chapters. Even Genesis 1 and 2 offer differing accounts of the creation story. Guys, this is not the stuff of geniuses. You can find all this info online and reach your own conclusions. But one thing we know for sure, the Torah was not written by a single author. That much we know. But of course, lying Lösch and other fundamentalist Christians refuse to face the facts.
He also wrote, "The truth will not be changed by our knowledge or by our ignorance." And we agree. In fact, no one really believes that there is no truth. When it comes to physical realities such as medicine, mathematics, or the laws of physics, all people believe that some things are true. Who of us would dare to ride in an airplane if we didn't believe that the laws of aerodynamics were absolute truth? Verifiable truths do exist. They surround us, and we stake our lives on them. Does the truth ever change? It does not.
Inadvertently, Lösch just debunked his entire religion in 3 short words. Truth never changes. If truth never changes, and Jehovah's Witnesses have the one and only truth, why is it that the beliefs of JWs have been updated multiple times? One of the most famous examples being the generation teaching. Watchtower claimed that the generation that lived through 1914 would not pass away before Armageddon was unleashed. But that teaching was trashed and changed. It was not true, and what is not true is false, a lie. This can only mean one thing, that this religion did not have the truth, and they cannot claim to have the truth now, since their teachings are still constantly being updated. The New Light doctrine is clear proof that Jehovah's Witnesses do not have the one true religion.
Our understanding of truth changes as we progress in understanding it, but the truth never changes.
Notice how he weasels in this phrase to excuse the changes in doctrine Watchtower has enacted throughout the years. And sure, this is how the scientific method works. Our understanding of the truth changes as more evidence becomes available. That's fine. Sometimes scientists are wrong and later corrected by other scientists. The difference is that, unlike religion, science does not claim to be inspired by an all-knowing deity. If God reveals his truths in a progressive manner as you claim, that means he intentionally hides the truth from his worshippers. Instead of revealing the whole truth all at once. And if God reveals a truth that contradicts a previous truth, that means that it was not actually God who revealed this info. An all-knowing and all-loving deity would never give his children an incomplete and faulty piece of doctrine, only to replace it later on. That behavior has the grubby fingerprints of humanity all over it, not the divine. Again, Lösch would not know the truth even if it climbed up his rectum.
When Jesus said that our purpose in life was to talk about the truth, he was speaking of something that faithful Jews had valued for centuries. In their sacred writings, the Jews had long read of truth as something concrete, not theoretical. In the Bible, truth translates the Hebrew word emet, which signifies that which is firm, solid, and perhaps most of all, reliable. End of quote. The Jews had good reason for viewing truth in that way. They called their God, Jehovah, the God of truth. This was because everything Jehovah said he would do, he did. When he made promises, he kept them. When he inspired prophecies, they were fulfilled. When he uttered final judgments, they were carried out.
Oh yeah, like that time God prophesied through Ezekiel that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, would conquer the island city of Tyre? That never happened. Babylon laid siege to the city but never breached the walls. It was Alexander the Great who conquered Tyre. Yet the city would be rebuilt multiple times, and today it's in the country of Lebanon. I visited Tyre last year. I saw its Roman pillars. I even ate a chicken shawarma there. It's absolutely packed with people, even though Yahweh promised Tyre would never be rebuilt. So this prophecy failed not once, but twice. Oops. How about that time Jehovah promised Egypt would become a desolate wasteland for 40 years? That clearly never happened. I guess Ezekiel just had a thing for writing false prophecies. ExJW Caleb made an excellent video on the failed prophecy of Damascus. And check it out if you want. I can keep going on for hours. The Bible is full of prophecies that never came true. But believers like Lösch are not willing to even consider that, because to them the Bible is God's infallible word, and they cannot lie, even though the evidence shows that the Bible got it wrong multiple times.
Millions of Israelites had been eyewitnesses of these realities. The inspired writers of the Bible recorded them as indisputable facts of history. Unlike other books viewed as sacred, the Bible is not set against a backdrop of myth or legend. It is firmly grounded in verifiable facts, historical, archaeological, and scientific, and sociological also realities.
Are talking snakes a scientific reality? How about talking donkeys? A global flood? A tower that can reach up to God? How about changing the genetic of animals by making them breed in front of sticks? Transforming your rod into a snake? A war general commanding the sun to stand still? Bringing people back from the dead? Virgin births? Are men that walk on water a historical reality? How about zombies walking around in Jerusalem after the death of Christ? Is that backdrop historical enough for you? The Bible is full of stories that are clearly mythological. This becomes clear only if you step back and start analyzing the Bible with a bit of skepticism. The ancient writers of the scriptures were not interested in writing down accurate history like modern historians. Their main objective was to make theological statements, assertions about their God, which they believed to be true. These primitive men were, by no fault of their own, ignorant people who believed things which we would now consider silly. I'm sorry, Lösch, but saying the Bible is the absolute truth does not make it true. Truth is what the facts are, and when verifiable facts contradict the assertions made by primitive men, I'm sorry, Mr. Lösch, but I think I'm gonna stick with the facts this time.
No wonder the psalmist says to Jehovah, "Your law is truth. All your commandments are truth. The very essence of your word is truth." Since Jehovah God is the author of the Bible is truth. Jesus Christ echoed the words of that psalm when he said in prayer to Jehovah, your word is truth. Jesus knew that everything his Father spoke was absolutely firm and reliable. Likewise, Jesus himself was full of truth. Yes, Jesus was even the personification of truth. The Mosaic law was truth, but it was not the full truth. Jesus taught something different from the Mosaic law. The Bible shows that the Mosaic law was a shadow or prophetic picture of greater realities which came through Christ. And so the Mosaic law was not the full truth, but a pattern of it.
If the Mosaic law was not the full truth, then that makes it a half-truth, and therefore a half-lie. But Lösch is correct in one thing, for once. Jesus did contradict the Mosaic law while he was on earth. In my opinion, the concept of turning the other cheek cannot be reconciled by the Mosaic law's spirit of retaliation. Eye for an eye. These are not my words, they're Jesus' words. Jesus said it was fine to do good deeds on the Sabbath, even though his Father decided that picking up sticks on the Sabbath was punishable by death. If the law of Christ came to replace the law of Moses, that means that the law of Moses was not perfect. God gave the Israelites a law code that was incomplete and would later need to be replaced by something better. And not only replaced, but entirely contradicted. Maybe the new light doctrine of Jehovah's Witnesses is not so unbiblical after all.
Brother Charles Taze Russell wrote the book, The Divine Plan of the Ages. It was published in 1886. It included a discussion on the Bible as a divine revelation viewed in the light of reason. It said, the depth and power and wisdom and scope of the Bible's testimony convince us that not man but Almighty God is the author.
Yeah, sure, and Pastor Russell also believed the pyramids of Giza revealed the timeline of God's plan for the ages, a teaching which would later be trashed by Rutherford. Why does Lösch even bring the book into the spotlight? This book is packed with insane doctrines. It would be in the governing body's best interest to just erase it from existence. The next section is just Lösch unleashing a barrage of similes. Truth is like this, truth is like that. He does this for several minutes, and some of his lines are quite bizarre.
Truth is like a pillar, firm and supportive, and it helps to combat false teachings. Truth is like a rainbow for beauty. Truth is invigorating. Truth is like us. Truth is like the rising sun bathing the landscape in deathly cosmic radiation.
He's melting. I'm surprised he hasn't caught on fire yet after saying the word truth so many times.
Truth is what a nursing mother is to her baby. Nobody can stop the truth. Truth is like a flower or even a bouquet of beautiful little flowers. Now is the time to study the truth and attend Christian meetings where the truth is taught. Do not miss congregation meetings. 1 Timothy 3:15 compares the congregation with a pillar of truth. The congregation preserves the purity of the truth and upholds it. True, Jehovah teaches us through the Bible, but also through Christian meetings.
So Jehovah can't teach us only through the Bible? Does he need us to be spoon-fed at meetings to understand his word?
We have the truth on our lips. We have the truth around our hips. The truth is the world is in utter confusion.
Ooh, this is what we call a Freudian slip. Come on, Lösch. You are about to get something, right? Your cult, which you call the truth, is in utter confusion and imploding.
Help your students to love the truth and to live the truth, but if necessary, to be willing to die for the truth and for Jehovah.
That escalated quickly. Be willing to die for the truth? This turtle wasn't even willing to show up in court in behalf of his religion. I really doubt he's down to die for it. Hypocrite.
Brothers, this is the truth. His word is truth. Keep talking the truth and keep walking in the truth. then you will walk forever and praise our loving God of truth.
Again, Lösch, you calling it the truth a dozen times doesn't make it the truth. Well, besides the obvious falsehoods we already pointed out, this talk was incredibly weak. It was unstructured, full of strange and unfitting quotations. I think this dinosaur should have retired ages ago. He gave the cult everything he had. Just let him die on a beach resort in the Bahamas, for God's sake, Watchtower. Why do you still have this man around? Next time you bring him out on stage, I will not be so merciful. Oh, guys, let me know what you thought of Garrett Lösch talk, and tell me, what should we call him from now on? I've been using Lying Lösch as a nickname, but maybe you have something better, so let me know in the comments below. This is only part 1 of my review of the annual meeting. Next up, we have talks from Sanderson and Uncle Tony, your favorite, so hit that subscribe button if you want to see those. Huge thank you to my wonderful, beautiful patrons for your constant support. Thank you guys, it means a lot to me. Also, thank you to everyone who has donated to the channel. You guys are wonderful. We'll catch you on the next one. Keep it cool. Stay away from the tower.